Hello everybody. In this video I want to talk to you about dynamic type check, and specifically dynamic type check using JSON schema, and I will represent it using an application, a React application that I'm working on. And this React application, which also has a server side, I'm writing in Typescript. So you can see here that I have a client. This is a React, and this is the server. I'm using Express, and both are using Typescript. Okay, so just to let you see what is going on, this is the quiz application that I'm working on, and I can choose a quiz, and I can do the quiz. Okay, and the quiz, I can get it from two sources. I can get it either from the server, or I can get it during development, and maybe also later, using the public. Okay, so you see here, this JSON represents the quiz. Okay, the quiz has a name and description, and the quiz has quiz items. Each item has question, and each question has few answers, and there are also the correct answer index. So this is the quiz item. It doesn't matter if I get the JSON from the React public data or from the server, it's a JSON. And this JSON is represented in my React application using an interface. So if you look inside, you see that there are a lot of interfaces, and the one that represents the information that come, the quiz that come from the server, is the following. So there is an ID, because I'm holding the quiz on MongoDB, and there is a head, and there are items, and the head is an interface. You see, it's an interface, and it's holding the name of the quiz, and description, and categories, etc. And there is an array of items, quiz items. And if you look inside, you can see categories and questions, question and answer. Okay, so question can have value and mode, and answers can have an array of answers and the correct answer number. Notice that there are some restriction here on the interface, or on the data that is coming. And here I'm saying that I'm not allowing quiz item without answers, so at least one answer. And here I'm saying that the index must be at least 0. So I have few restrictions. And the fact that I'm using Typescript is very helpful, because I can represent the information that comes from the JSON, the quiz, with this interface. So now let's start a quiz. It's a very small quiz, okay? There is a description, and let's click here, and let's click here, and submit. Okay, a response has been recorded. It's because I'm sending the response to the server, and I can see the score. Okay, so 1 out of 2 is okay, and this is okay, and this is not okay. So this is the start of my application, and the most important information that I'm using is the quiz, and this quiz can be complicated. If you want to look, you can see that this is the ID, and this is the head, and I have items, and I have question, and I have answer, and this correct answer. There is a lot of data that is going on here. Okay, and this data, either if I'm taking from the JSON on the client or from the server, this is coming to my React application. Okay, if you want to have a look on this. So actually this is what I have. This is my client application. This client application gets JSON. It can get it from the server, or it can get it from the public directory. Okay, as I have seen, and as I have shown you. Currently, I'm taking it from here. Okay, and let's see on the code where I'm getting it. Okay, so because I'm using interface, it's very convenient to do the following. Go to this, and let's see where I'm getting it. Okay, so you see that I'm getting it here. Okay, this is the application quiz app, and I'm fetching the data. I'm fetching the data either from the JSON file locally or from the server. It's the same function. And if you look inside, and here I get the information. Okay, this is a custom hook. Okay, this is a custom hook, and I'm getting the information either from the server or from the JSON file locally. And when I get the information, I want to know that the information is correct. Okay, because as you've seen, this JSON is not simple. Okay, there are a lot of things going on, and maybe I've by mistake added something here. Okay, so it's not enough to make a static type check. I want to validate. I want to make dynamic type check. Okay, so I want to be sure that what I'm getting either from the server, because during development there may be a lot of changes, and maybe I've made a mistake by adding something wrong to the JSON. So I want to validate that the information that I get here is really what I want. I want to see that I get ID, which is string, and I want to get a head, which has these properties. These properties is string, and this is an enum, and this is another interface. Okay, so it's quite complicated. Okay, so I have a validation function. Okay, you see here that this use fetch data, which it get validation function, and in this validation I need to go over this JSON, over all properties, verify that if they are required that they exist, if they are optional it's okay, and also check the restriction. You saw before that the index must be 0 and above. So, and for every JSON that I get, if it's a quiz, this is one validation. If I'm sending another information, it's another validation. It's quite complex and require a lot of work. And every time that I'm changing this interface, I need to change also the validation function. So in general, this validation function is very big, and it's also error prone in general. But in my case, I'm using JSON schema, and you will see this function. Okay, so I'm clicking here, and this is the function. Okay, I have here maybe 15 lines, and this is it. I'm getting the quiz from server, and I'm using a validate function for AGV, and this is it. Okay, and this validation function is going to be the same for every interface. So I need actually, maybe I should to make it more general, I need to get from the argument the interface and the schema. But this is it. You see how generic it is. And this is because I'm using JSON schema. Okay, so we still don't know what is JSON schema, we don't know what is AGV, we don't know anything about this, but now I want to show you how it is working. Okay, so you saw before that if everything is okay, it is working. Okay, I was able to perform, this was okay. But now let's change something. Okay, let's change here and change it to -1. And this is not going to work because let's see what it's not going to work if I will look for this. There is a restriction. We saw the I answers before, and there is a restriction that correct index must be 0 or above. Okay, so suppose that I've made a mistake and I've put here -1. Okay, I want my validation schema to work and to tell me that there is a problem. Okay, so let's see if I refresh now. You see validation error. Okay, and if you will look inside here, you will see that he is complaining about the minimum and on the answers, on the correct answer index. This I'm getting by simply using this. Nothing to implement. Okay, another sample. Okay, now if I revert back and make it 0, and if I refresh now, everything is going to be okay, because now it's okay. And suppose that there was another problem, and suppose that I mistakenly entered this field, okay? And you know, there is not such a field. Let's see what will happen. Okay, I have a validation error, and let's see here what's the problem. Again, it's talking about a required property. Must have required property, and he's saying that this is missing. Look how easy it is, and I'm getting it for free. Okay, now let's revert back. And let's refresh. And now you see that it is working. Okay, so now what you need to know now, what is missing from your knowledge. Oh, let's again, it was on the quiz app. Let's go again to the validation. Function. It was here. Okay, and now this function, let's go inside this function. And you see that I'm getting this schema. Okay, I'm using the interface. We saw the interface. And to validate, I'm using something that's called AGV. I'm using the information that I get from the server, which is type iQuiz from server. But I need to check it, the information against a schema. So what is the schema? And this is the schema. Okay, and let's see where it is. It is here on client SRC schemas. Okay, it's here. So now suppose that I will remove this. Okay, now it's not supposed to work because first there is it's complaining here, but if I will try to invoke it, it's not going to work because the validation needs this schema. Okay, so you see that it's not working. So I need this schema, and you saw before that this schema is quite complicated, but I will show you that I can create it in one click. Okay, so if you go to here, package.json, you see that I have a script, create schemas. Okay, so I want to show you here the schema. Now it's empty, and I'm going to do the following: npm run and create schemas. And you will see that the schemas are going to be created. Oops. Oh, I need to get inside the client directory. And create it now. Okay, let's see what is going on here. This is first is created. This is the schema of the iQuiz from server. And then another schema will be created. Okay, you see that this is already created. Okay? This is it, nothing more. Okay? And now you see that the static check no red here. And now let's invoke it again. Let's go 1 and now you see that I can start quiz and it is working. So let's come again to this function, because this is where the magic is. This function. Look how thin this function is. And actually I can make it, as I said, general and get two arguments, the interface and the schema. And the schema I can create automatically using this click. And I'm using something that is called AGV, and this is it. Okay, so now I need to talk to you about two subject, the JSON schema. Okay, this is the JSON schema. This is one JSON schema, and this is the JSON schema that we talk about. So what is JSON schema? So JSON schema is a vocabulary that allows you to annotate and validate the JSON document. That's exactly what I've done. But what is beautiful with working with the interface is that I don't need to understand very much about this JSON schema. I just need an interface. An interface I already have because I want to represent the data that is coming. And also I'm using interface for properties. Okay, so if I'm using here all my components are using interface because it's very easy to use it. Okay, all my components are using interface, so I'm using interface anyway, and I can create this interface. With this interface I can create the schema. So how is it done? So we can go here and see create schemas. You need to go to scripts, and this is it. You need to you need to use a package that is called np Typescript JSON schema, and give her the Typescript file and tell her which interface to use, and it will output the schema. This is it. This is a schema. Okay, so this is the schema, but the schema alone is not enough. Again, the schema, if you want to look at it, is here. Okay, this is the schema, and what is another missing subject, okay, is the AGV. And the AGV is simply a validator, something that gets from one hand the schema, from the other hand the interface, and check that the object here matches the schema. Okay, and you can check it on the internet again, and you can see that from this JSON schema website, you can get this. You see the AGV. So let's look at JSON schema validator. And okay, not this. Okay, so it's inside JSON schema. Okay, and we have here validator. And what is beautiful about JSON schema is that it's not specific to JavaScript or TypeScript. You see that there are a lot of programming. It is programming language agnostic. It's not dependent on the programming language, because it just need to validate the JSON. So you need a JSON schema, and you can implement validators, meaning that you get an object from one hand and its schema from one hand, from the other hand, and the validator check that the object obey the schema. So you have here a lot of validators, and if you want to look for JavaScript, you have the AGV. Okay, and so the AGV, it can work with JavaScript, and it can also work with TypeScript. So if you want to go here again, the problem I have is that I'm getting a JSON into my React application, either from server or from a file locally, but I want to verify that what I'm getting is correct. Maybe there is a bug. I don't want to look for this information inside my application, deep inside my application. I want to check it here as I get the schema, as I get the object. So I need to perform dynamic type check. And this is done really easily with JSON schema and with AGV and with interface. So I hope that I've convinced you to use this. By the way, you can use it on the client, and you can use it also on the server, because the information that you get from the client to the server, you need also to validate it. And it is also JSON. And on the server, I have also a TypeScript. So I'm using it also on the server. I want to show you how it is working on my client. Thank you.